Okay, how's everybody doing today? My name is Kent. The channel is Bitcoin Believer. I am live. So if you want to join me, be my guest. I'd like to hear what you have to say. I haven't been doing very many of these, so I don't expect a lot of people to participate, but that's how we get started. So I want to talk a little bit today. If you read the title of this live, it's about Bitcoin being a common sense test. And it really certainly is a common sense test. And I'll show you why. If I made a video the other day, if you checked it out, and the video was the monstrous scale of money and how deep would all the fiat money printed cover the face of the world, literally the face of the earth. So if you just kind of wallpapered or papered over the face of the earth with all the fiat money being created, and what fiat money is, you have to define it. It's government printed money that isn't backed by anything. That's what fiat currency technically is. I talk about that in this video. If you took all the money out there, all the counterparty money, all the money printed by all the different governments, the United States and all these different entities, all these different municipalities, everybody, bonds, the whole thing, the counterparty, you would be over $600 trillion, literally enough money to paper the world up to your waist. In paper money. Now think about that in terms of Bitcoin. You have enough fiat currency out there in the world to paper the world, the world over, but you got 21 million Bitcoin. I mean, we're talking about 600 to 700, maybe more than well, what comes after a trillion, quadrillion? I mean, more than a quadrillion amount of fiat currency money in the world, and we have 21 million Bitcoin. Now, to me, that's a common sense test. If you cannot see the logic behind that, the fact that Bitcoin is limited, will never be more than 21 million, and it's competing against something that is already enough to paper over the entire surface of the world many times over. So that's a common sense test to me. So I think a guy like Warren Buffett, he fails the common sense test of Bitcoin. He just absolutely fails it. He just fails it because he doesn't understand it. But he's not alone, because I think about 99.5% of people don't understand Bitcoin. It's not hard to understand, but you have to have an open mind to understand it. And it doesn't take long to understand it, but it's very entertaining when you do understand it. A very interesting thing happened to me last night. I went to 24 Hour Fitness, which is the main fitness workout place here in Southern California. I live in Carlsbad, and I was in the steam room, and a young guy was there, and he's actually trying to put more steam into the room. And I was saying, hey, dude, knock it off, man. I got too much steam in here already. I can't take it. So I get to talking to him. He had an accent, and I said, where are you from? And he goes, I'm from Russia. And I said, you're kidding me. He goes, yeah, I'm from Moscow. And I said, how'd you get over here? And he said, well, I left because of being basically taken into the war in Ukraine. And I talked to him about Putin and what's going on in Russia, and everything that I've been, if you watch the right YouTubers, you get the real story of what's going on behind the scenes. And this young man is 27 years old, told me they came to well, thanks for the thumbs up. I appreciate that. He came to the United States through Mexico, migrated up into the United States to avoid being taken to to Ukraine. And, what he said happened, which is really what I've been watching from other YouTubers. He lived in an apartment building in Moscow, and he got it tipped off that they were coming to the building to start just taking young men into the Soviet army and take him to Ukraine. And of course, people in Ukraine, so I got 2 thumbs up, appreciate it. People in Ukraine, you know what's going to happen to you in there. I've watched enough videos of Americans that have gone over to Ukraine to help out, and it's just nothing but it's a death zone. If you go to Ukraine, you got a pretty good chance of being killed, especially with the modern artillery they have. They just vaporize you. They just you get on the battlefield, you're out on the front lines, bang, and they start hitting you with that big artillery, and it just starts vaporizing people, just turning them into pink mist. And that's basically what's happened to a lot of people over there. So this young man escaped Russia, came to the United States to escape Putin's war. So, I told him, congratulations, I admire you. And, he's doing pretty well. I mean, he speaks English fairly well and, coming over here and he's done really well. So, this is crazy stuff going on in the world. And we're funding a lot of that, and a lot of what he said that we're hearing is true. Putin is an oligarch. It's basically a crony crack capitalist, not crony communist system over there, but it's not really run like communism. It's run where basically what Putin has done is he's taken his background as KGB and he's used it to control the people, but then allow a lot of people with a lot of money to have favoritism and get positions like the guy from Wagner Group and that they killed. But anyway, enough of that. Back to the fact that Bitcoin is a common sense test. So if you cannot figure out Bitcoin, you have to check your common sense, because when you have as much money being pumped into the world as there's been pumped into the world today to fight wars in Israel, wars in Ukraine, you got to know that Bitcoin has a very good chance of increasing in value, because they're doing this with printed money. Nothing's backing it. Just the full faith and trust of the United States government, which is the people. And how long are the people going to go? Are we going to liquidate everything we own so the government can continue to spend money? Probably not. So what do they have? They have no other alternative but to print money. They've got to print money. And that's all they've ever done. These people that think all of a sudden we're going to go to a gold silver standard or we're going to back off and quit printing money, they're crazy. We haven't quit printing money in 150 years. They're going to keep printing money until nobody accepts it anymore. And they're lucky right now because money is just a state of mind. Gold's a state of mind, money's a state of mind, Bitcoin's a state of mind. But if people are willing to believe that if you hold this vehicle, this Bitcoin or fiat currency, if you believe that's real money, then it is real money. Money is just a state of mind. Money is just an idea. It's not really. It is not. Money is something that we just all agree upon, as we will exchange something for this, and this is what money is. But when something that we're using to an exchange with is being mass produced or being put up on a, hi, how you doing? Time to stick with BTC. Playing the EOS shit casino is a major mistake. I agree. I mean, I got some people told me, hey, we need to stick with it. We are sticking with EOS. EOS, we run our DAPA. We're one of the few people still running an application, and we're still pumping money into the EOS blockchain. We have developers, we've got guys all over the world working on a challenge application. We're putting it back into the Android and Apple Play. We've spent a lot of money in the last month on EOS, the blockchain. But as far as an investment vehicle, I'm done. I'm not using EOS as an investment vehicle anymore because there's too many people that have already robbed the bank with EOS. I mean, you got the guy from, you got Novogratz, which I made a video with up in San Francisco. I mean, he was just up there to play us. And then you have the guy from PayPal. I can't remember. Somebody can put it in the comments. Peter Thiel from PayPal. This guy's all banked on EOS. I mean, they made tons of money. I like Brock Pierce, but he made a ton of money too. I mean, these guys they really game the system. And of course, what they do, they buy a bunch of Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm over all that. I'm going to stick with Bitcoin. And of course I make AI videos. I've had one today, but I'm going to continue to stick with Bitcoin. I've had enough. Here, I'll put your thing on the screen. If I can figure out how to do that. Okay. I'm still getting new. I'm still new at this. I mean, I did this for a long time, but then I forgot how to do it. There we go. J-Man Jr., time to stick with BTC, playing EOS shit game. Casino, major mistake. Yeah, I agree. Major mistake. So thanks, J-Man. J-Man Jr., appreciate it. So, yeah, I'm not going to do a lot of EOS stuff. I will talk about it because we do run an app on it. We will continue to run an app. We spend a ton of money. As if you watched my videos before, we spent a lot of money. We spent hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on a challenge application when we had to go, when we bought the resources, the RAM resources, and all that other stuff to put the thing up. So we're dedicated to it. And for whatever we want to say about EOS blockchain does run really well. I mean, I'm not involved with the day-to-day activities that run on the EOS blockchain, but it does run pretty well. So Chase says we never have hiccups. We're never offline. and we do pretty well. So J-Man also says, I miss the old content, Ken. I'm glad Carlsbad local myself. Great. Good job. Glad to hear you're turning the corner. Thank you, J-Man. Yeah, Carlsbad, pretty nice place to live. Nice day. Actually, it is November 26th, 4:23 in the afternoon. So yeah, we'll have to meet up sometime, J-Man. Yeah, it's a good time here in Carlsbad. I like it. I probably would. I think of all the places in Southern California to live, and I've lived, all over Southern California. My daughter lives in Sherman Oaks. We've lived in Encinitas. We've lived in Del Mar. We've lived all over the coast. Newport. I've been up in Newport quite a bit because my daughter lived up there for a while. So between, my son's being in wrestling, going to all the high schools, all the different places me and my children have lived, I like Carlsbad. I just like Carlsbad. It's close to the beach. It's really clean. It's very safe. I walk the streets of Carlsbad. As people know, most of my videos have been done on the streets. I walk those streets all the time. I've never had anybody give me a bit of problems. It's like everybody thinks come to California, you're going to get mugged or beat up, or some gang banger is going to hit you. I don't know, man. I haven't had that problem. Not to say it doesn't happen, but I've never had that problem. Carlsbad's if you're in Carlsbad, I think you lucked out in the world. I really do. So thanks. Appreciate it. Carlsbad's a pretty good. My sons both went to Carlsbad. My daughter went to Carlsbad High School. So I love Carlsbad. It's probably where I'll hopefully be, as long as I can make the payments on the house, which aren't getting easier, that's for sure, especially with this real estate market. So anyway, okay, I want to talk about some stuff. I want to talk about, I talked the other night about what I see. I was talking about 2024. 2024 is an election year. November 2024, we're going to have a decision to make on who's going to be the next president of the United States. And of course, we got Joe Biden, who is, everybody knows, is probably losing some of his mental capacities. And we have Donald Trump, who's kind of a wild card. I mean, Trump's been president before, but he's a scary dude. Trump's a scary guy. You never know what's going on. Plus, he's got a lot of indictments going on, and it's really going to be scary. I really don't think that we're going to see any kind of drastic changes in the way the government's running things or the way things have been done. Got a new Speaker of the House. He's probably going to stop some of the spending. But by and large, what's happened in our economy in the last few years is we have gone from an infrastructure economy to a stimulus economy. And I'm going to prove that to you. Now, people say, hey, we haven't got a stimulus check forever. We got $1,000 or people got $1,200. I can't remember what it was. But this is the thing, and people need to realize this. We are no longer in an economy that's being supported by, hey, greetings. Thank you, D1360. I'll put you up here. Let's see what you got to say. It says, greetings. That's right. EOS block exchange still working well with lots of improvements, but almost all altcoins are floor price. Focus is on Bitcoin right now. Then all projects will rise. Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. The only problem with the altcoins is, they can. There's something very interesting. When I was first getting into EOS, and of course we met Dan Lammer. We made video with Dan Lammer. I think Dan Lammer turned out to be a huge disappointment. I talked to Dan Lammer. He's kind of a weird guy. He really is a weird guy. He's a weird guy. He's just strange. He's got a lot of weird beliefs, but he's a weird guy. Okay, I'm not going to go any deeper than that with him. He's a weird dude. Okay, so in the beginning of when he was getting into cryptocurrencies and thinking that was, he was like me. He saw fiat currencies as being, an endless printing money cycle, and he was looking for some sort of digital currency, some sort of thing. An online digital currency. Dan Lammer was involved with this from the very beginning, in the very initial stages of Bitcoin. And supposedly he had interactions with Satoshi in chats. And Dan said, hey, look, your way of mining is never going to work because your way of mining is taking too much time. So Dan said, you need to do something where it's not a algorithm where we're solving a a mathematical problem. In order to mine the Bitcoin, we need to do something where it's a lot quicker, because this speed issue is going to keep this from ever growing or getting to be very useful, because it takes so much time to mine a Bitcoin. And that's what his thing was. So he was trying to persuade Satoshi, they need to change it to some sort of proof of stake instead of proof of work. And Satoshi basically gives him back a real slap in the face and says, "Hey, dude, you don't really understand this. You don't get it. I can't help you if you don't get it. If you don't get it right now, you don't get it." And when I first heard that, I was like thinking Dan was pretty smart for saying that. But after being in this thing for like 5 or 6 years and looking at what's going on in the altcoin world, I agree with Satoshi. So Dan didn't get it. The altcoin world can be almost like the fiat currency world, because in the altcoin world, all they need to do is alter the code and create as many tokens as they want to create. Until I find an altcoin that is run in a strict manner with credible people, not people like we're doing EOS, the Novogratzes and Peter Thiels and Dan Larimers and Brock Pierce's. Unless you find a stable group of people to run an altcoin that aren't going to alter the code and continue to create tokens, I'm going to stay away from them. Even XRP. I mean, I've owned most of them. I've owned all of them at some time or another. XRP. I've even owned Dogecoin. I've owned all of these coins because I've played that game. When I see an altcoin go crazy, I jump on and I buy and I buy and I buy, and then I sell and I sell and I sell. I lose and I win. I lose and I win, and I lose and I win. But if you look at Bitcoin and you take any 4-year period of Bitcoin, even when it was $66,000, let's say you bought Bitcoin $66,000 and you dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin for 4 years. From the time it was 66,000 4 years ago, but if you dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, like bought it every week since it was $66,000, you'd be ahead. So if you take any 4-year period, like just take a price. If you bought $66,000 of Bitcoin and then you go back 4 years, you would have made money. I mean, because Bitcoin went from 66,000 back to about 16,000. Now it's at 38,000. So even though you bought at $16,000, if you would have dollar cost average all the way back down to 16,000, and now it's 38,000, you'd be in the money. So even buying it at the very high, if you hold Bitcoin, it will make money. And if you take any point in time and go back 4 years or 4 years in the future, you will see that Bitcoin will appreciate. It always does. It always has, and it always will. So yeah, Bitcoin is to me right now the only thing I'm going to play. It's the only thing I'm going to stay with. I mean, I own a little bit of Ethereum. The only reason I bought Ethereum is because of the ETF thing. BlackRock trying to file for ETF, and it's funny because I bought it the day before BlackRock said they were going to do that. I didn't buy very much, but I'm kind of like to speculate. It's kind of in my blood, so I do buy those altcoins. But my main focus and the focus of my YouTube channel will be on Bitcoin, because I believe Bitcoin is the one that you will, if you stay in long enough, dollar cost average, and stay with it long enough, you will make money. Versus the other ones, like, what happened to some of these other coins? They go to zero basically. EOS hasn't gone to zero. So that's why I still have and after everything EOS has gone through, the lawsuits, the ENF, all the misery that we've gone through with EOS, it still trades on Coinbase. So yeah, there's still hope for EOS if you own the token. I own some tokens in EOS. I don't own a lot, but I still do. I'm not going to sell them because it's not worth it. I'll just keep them, see what happens. But yeah, we own tokens. We have to pay for resources with EOS. So yeah, EOS is still in my vision, but I'm not going to make any more content on it. And I don't think anybody else is either. At one time, there was quite a few people making content on EOS, but not very many people making content on EOS anymore. So anyway, I want to talk about how we've gone from a infrastructure economy to a stimulus economy. And one of the ways we got there was with this thing called the CARES Act. Okay, when we had 2020 come around and everything shut down, basically the government came in with stimulus. And this was the CARES Act. Today, Congress passed a $2 trillion aid package. The third piece of federal legislation to address, I guess if you say that on YouTube videos, they give you a hard time, so I'm not going to say it. You can read it. I just call it 2020. And then for families who are eligible, we receive $1,200 payment, $500 for each child under the rebate program. So this is a tremendous amount of money. Here's food security: $8.8 billion for children nutrition, $15.51 billion for SNAP, $100 billion food distribution, $200 million U.S. territories, $450 million for commodities. This money all got fed into the system, guys. This money all got put into this trillions of dollars of fiat currency that got created. The CARES Act also dedicated $4 billion to expansion of existing emergency. So they're throwing around billion-dollar bills like most people throw around dollar bills. That's what's going on. This is why we've gone from a infrastructure economy to a stimulus economy. And this money has been working through our economy for a few years. And that's why you've got trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. And that's why you got to look at Bitcoin with 21 million fixed supply. Never go above 21 million fixed supply while you have this activity going on. That's why I say Bitcoin is a common sense test. If you're not into Bitcoin, you don't have any common sense, in my opinion. But most people don't want to delve into Bitcoin because they don't understand it. I got a chance to tell little stories when I'm on these lives. I have a friend of mine he was a computer programmer with Western Digital. Very smart man, incredibly intelligent. And a few years ago, I was talking to him. He moved to Denver, Colorado. My wife and I were out in Denver and visiting. And I asked him, I said, have you ever heard of Bitcoin? He goes, yeah, I've heard of Bitcoin. And I said, really? I said, yeah. I said, let's talk Bitcoin. He goes, yeah. And he thought Bitcoin was literally the coins that you see. I'll show you what a Bitcoin image looks like. He thought this was what Bitcoin was. This is an intelligent guy who's into software. And his idea of Bitcoin was, this was Bitcoin. That's what he thought Bitcoin was just one of these little things with some, it looks like some whatever they call that, silicon stuff on, and then backed by gold. He thought Bitcoin was just literally that coin, that little coin that you're looking at right here, this coin right here, and then that coin right here, and then backed by gold. That's what he thought Bitcoin was. This is an intelligent man. This is a guy that worked for Western Digital. This is a guy that was helping to figure out how, to digitize, how to storage. He worked for storage at Western Digital here in San Diego, or actually, yeah, San Diego. And his idea of Bitcoin was it was just a coin like this backed by gold. So when you got people that are that educated and that knowledgeable, especially on the internet and in software, and thinking that was Bitcoin, you can tell you 99.5% of people don't understand Bitcoin. So anyway, back to this CARES Act. This CARES Act pumped trillions of dollars into the economy, including to every single person. And the other thing the CARES Act did is that it got rid of the in-between party, which is the bank. It gave money directly to the people. So when you got your stimulus check, even though I think the stimulus checks went right to you, but you didn't have to go get a loan. So the way the world worked before that time was that, hey, if you got money, you went to a bank, you presented yourself, you give the bank your financials, the banks would make a determination if you're worthy of a loan, and they would just give it to you if you met their criteria, which was pretty difficult, their underwriting. But during the pandemic, they just gave you the money without the bank saying this person's, this person's worthy of getting money, or this person has, need, or there's something like that. Everybody just got it. They just got it because they shut the world down. So that was unique to the fact that they're starting to eliminate the third party, the counterparty, the bank, and they're going directly to the people with the COVID money. I said COVID with the stimulus money. So that is kind of a precursor for what's going to happen in the future with the digital currencies. They're going to go right to your wallet with the digital currency, just like they did with the pandemic money. They went right to the person. They didn't go to the bank. They went right to the person. So we eliminated the banks during all the stimulus. We didn't have to go through the scrutiny of if we were qualified for a loan or if we could show the need or anything like that. No, we just got the money. But you could say literally, hey man, that ran out a long time ago. I haven't got a stimulus check in a long time ago. Not so. I'll show you why. Small businesses for the last couple of years have been getting something called the employee retention credit. And what the employee retention credit is it's a tax credit that small businesses got to retain employees. So the the employee retention tax credit. Now what a tax credit is, it's not like a deduction. Tax credit means if you file, you get the cash. So you don't have to show, just literally show that employee that you kept employed for the last couple of years and you're a small mom and pop, you weren't making any money, but you needed to keep your employees around. They didn't want to ruin the economy. They didn't want the employment rate to go real high. So the government paid you to keep your employees. And that was called the Employee Retention Credit Act. Okay, so they literally, the Employee Retention Act is a refundable payroll tax credit equivalent to a cash payment of up to $26,000 for an employee. So these small businesses that really got ruined through the 2020 time were subsidized or given back money through this employee tax credit by the U.S. government. So since the passage of this fiscal cost of the credit has been ballooned to more than $230 billion. Okay, that's along with the CARES Act. Now we got the employee tax credit that's still, it's been going on. In fact, I think they finally discontinued it because there was too much fraud involved. But as of September 23rd, the IRS has paid out more than $230 billion in credits. The steep increase largely due to a flood of amended returns to Congress. So there's been a lot of fraud in this, and a lot of people, because there were literally people that were calling people and recruiting people. Like if you had someone, you would pay someone to go out and find the guy that did gardens, the guy that got mowed lawns. Do you have employees? Yes. Hey, give me a percentage of it and we'll get you into this. We'll get you this tax credit called the Employee Retention Tax Credit, and you're going to get a lot of money. So by one estimate, nearly half of any windfalls to business owners is captured by individuals with incomes over $250,000. So even with the people that had high incomes, they were getting this massive government program funding of this tax credit, literally money to them just by retaining employees. So what happened is the government tried to cover up. They were trying to help keep people employed through their pandemic, where people were getting let go and they didn't want the employment rate to go real high. So they did this, they covered it up, but that costs money, billions, trillions of dollars. And that's why they printed so much money. And here's another thing. To protect taxpayers from scams, IRS orders immediate stop to the new employee retention credit processing amid surges of questionable claims concerned from tax pros. So I think they have stopped it, but this thing went on for a couple of years. So your little restaurants, your mom and pop people, they were all getting this employment tax credit, which was costing the government billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars. And that money still hasn't worked through the economy. It's starting to be cut off. They're starting to run out because they're starting to stop this kind of stuff. But what will they do in place of it? Because we have no infrastructure anymore, because everybody's been living off of these stimulus programs. The employee tax credit, the stimulus payment that we all got in stimulus checks. So let me see. The other thing I want to talk about is the student loan program. So the government, when it decided, Biden wanted to completely pay off the student loans up to $20,000 or $30,000, I believe. So who was going to pay for that? That's going to be some more printing, more money printing. More money printed because of student loans. People can't pay their student loans because they don't have a job. You can see the government's paying to keep people employed, and now you've got people graduating from college that have to pay student loans, and they don't have any jobs. And, so what do? The government just says, hey, we'll just suspend student loan payments, and hopefully we can forgive them. And, of course, Biden tried to do it, and the Congress wouldn't let him. But that was a huge cost to the government. And look at this. The student loan payment pause has cost the government an estimated $195 billion since spring of 2020. This amounts to about $5 billion per month if the pause is extended 2024, the total cost of $275 billion. So between the CARES Act, the Employee Retention Act, and the Student Loan Deferment Act, how much money are we really talking about here? I mean, we're talking about some serious cash. And this has all been printed here recently in the last 3 years. And you tell me Bitcoin isn't a common sense test? Bitcoin is a common sense test. If you're reading this stuff, I'm pulling this stuff online in front of you. This is just stuff I pulled up in front of you. If you're reading this stuff and you're not seeing what's going on with Bitcoin being 21 million total, I mean, we're not talking about 21 billion total. We're not talking about 21 trillion total. When we're talking about fiat currencies, we don't even talk about the millions anymore. We talk about the billions and trillions. And when you see it, that we have enough money, paper money, to cover the face of the earth, why in the world can't you look at Bitcoin and say, my God, 21 million, and that's all there's ever going to be? And it can be used as money. People consider it money. That's a no-brainer. That is a common sense test. So yes, Bitcoin is a common sense test. So we have gone from an building infrastructure economy to a stimulus economy. We're in an election year. And you know, no one's going to want to see high employment. You got Biden standing in picket lines for the UAW, United Auto Workers, to try to get a raise. All that's going to be, you know, part of money spent too. So, and I don't even know if they supported that. The UAW, United States of America, supported that with money as far as that's concerned. But like I said the other night, you can look at all this money being printed by the U.S. government and say it's really hurting the dollar, but not necessarily, because you have people like this guy in Argentina, the Argentina president. This is really crazy. This new guy in president, he is this dude right here. I don't know if anybody's watched this guy or not. He's kind of a strange guy, but he's a social media guy and he gets people excited. But he's going to switch the Argentina economy over to the US dollar. So, and people are excited about that. So we're sitting here looking at all these trillions spent by our US government for the Employee Retention Act, for the CARES Act, for stimulus and stuff, realizing that we're not spending money on infrastructure anymore. All we're doing is printing money for stimulus. And then these guys have decided, hey, we're going to switch over to that system because our system's even worse. And that's why I say there's $2. There's a domestic dollar and there's the international dollar. And the international dollar still remains strong. And interestingly enough, as the guy I was talking to in the steam room the other night from the Soviet Union, he's actually from Moscow, was telling me that people want dollars in the Soviet Union. So it's like even in Russia, they still covet the U.S. dollar because people accept it. So, you know, the U.S. dollar is strong around the world because it's the best of all the worst ones. But 99.5% of people don't understand Bitcoin. As the world starts to understand Bitcoin, and hopefully through the ETFs, they will get it a little easier to understand, because you won't have to understand anything about it. All you have to understand is how to buy an ETF, how to buy a mutual fund, a fund. So once that happens, yeah, I think there's a lot of money to can pour into that. The other thing I want to talk about a little bit is I want to talk about Elon Musk. So the reason back in 2020, Elon Musk started buying Bitcoin and the price of Bitcoin went way high, and up to 66,000 from about 5,000. And then he decided, he brought up the point, hey, I'm not going to take Bitcoin anymore because of the energy it costs.